All right, everyone. It is Friday, February 25th, beaming with excitement and boiling over with enthusiasm as we begin this Fiscus Friday and let everyone know all of the activities that have happened throughout the week. We have a whitelist announcement that will occur at the end, what everyone has been waiting for a certainty. Even more potentially exciting than that, we have some phenomenal project developers here with us now in the Discord that we will be speaking to, and listening to. Thrilled about that. With that, I will absolutely turn it over because I know we have a lot to cover. So excited! Can't say that enough. And you guys know that I'm usually pretty excited anyways as far as the spectrum goes. So with that, let me turn it over to Kyle. First time most here in the Discord have actually heard from Kyle. Thrilled to have him here with us. So with that, we'll turn it over to Kyle, and we will proceed from
Hey, Phil, thanks for that. So as Phil mentioned, I'm Kyle. I operate as overseer of our technical teams and operations teams. And, for example, Kevin and Ken, they both report to me. My title here officially is as CTO. And I know over the coming weeks, coming days, actually, we're almost there. We'll be putting out sort of our org charts and how to get in touch with us, depending on what sort of area of questions you might have, if it's ever questions outside of an AMA format. We have a interesting project that we'd like to introduce today. It's called Gourmet, and we've got Brad and Brooke, the primaries that the founders of that project, here to speak on the project a little bit. Let's see, are Brad and Brooke added to speaker list yet?
Yes, I have added there under the handle here of Brick, and they need to accept that invite, and they are good to jump up and speak.
All right, give them a quick poke here, a minute to accept that.
Right, can you hear us?
Yes.
You can. Okay, perfect. How's it going, Kyle?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. For those of you who don't know, we are Gourmet. My name's Brad Smith. My partner, Brooke Moyer. Excited to get the chance to talk. So, Kyle, where would you like us to start?
Well, first and foremost, tell us a bit about the project. What is Gourmet, and maybe after having an understanding of what it is, we can get into sort of the why. But let's get to learn about what the project is first.
Of course. So to create a little picture of what we are at Gourmet is in the beginning of the pandemic, I owned 2 restaurants, and obviously the COVID just obviously destroyed the entire restaurant industry. My background is Queen's University. I graduated. I played 7 years in the CFL. I left the CFL and then went directly into early stage investing into IPOs. And then naturally, when you're doing that, you want to be on television. So I've been on television for over a decade with shows like Chop Canada. I currently host The Big Bake, which plays in 17 countries across the world. And yes, if you do Google Brad Smith, it will come up that I started as The Bachelor Canada, which we tend to forget, or I try to forget every single day. But this led me into the food world. I switched onto TV. I started working for the Food Network in 2015. And then from then, my love of food opened these restaurants. And during COVID, we had 26 employees. And on March 17th, I had to hand out 26 letters of dismissal. And that was one of the worst days of my life because I prided myself on being great to my employees. We were the only restaurant in Canada that didn't pay minimum wage to any of our employees. But then I sat there and wondered, where are all these 26 employees going to go? And now only 4 of them are in the food industry. And then Brooke, with her background, I'll let her speak a little bit about that.
Hey guys. So my name is Brooke Moyer. I am the COO. My background is on the finance side. So I did 8 years in the capital markets. I did investment banking, and then I started my own investor relations company. In 2016, I actually patented and co-founded a company called 4D Driving Technologies. But what really kind of brought gourmet to light was I was doing a lot of research on the creator economy. And what we came to realize was that, you know, even though that 20% of the creators are food related, there are no platforms dedicated to culinary creators. So that is the impetus of gourmet.
Yeah, so Brooke came to me with the idea of merging my social network through food, and not only food, but Food Network Television, and my great, roster of people that I get to know with that, my business background and her tech background, to start What is Gourmet. Because what happened during the pandemic was we saw that 28% of all people claim that they have a side hustle just to meet ends meet. Now, when you look at the restaurant and culinary industry that was totally depleted, almost 65% of all jobs went away. And then you look online and 50% of all people that use social media platforms consider themselves foodies. There was clearly a market for something here. So what was A and B and how did we put them together? And that was sitting down one time with a judge that I work with, Eddie Jackson. He's a former NFL player. And he was like, Brad, you know what? I'm killing it on these online cooking classes and cooking demos. You know, I'm going from making $5,000 an appearance to people paying me mass amounts of money in order to just see me cook online. And it just clicked. And that's when Gourmet was kind of incepted with our MVP of creating an online social media platform for anyone who's a digital food enthusiast that wants to share their love of food with their followers. Because what happens is whether you have 1 million followers or whether you have 10 followers, as a creator, you are going through the energy, the time expended, the creation of your product, spending hundreds and hundreds of hours a month in order to wait for a sponsored brand or someone to come to you and say, here's $1,000 to post these 3 pictures. We want to flip that on its head and say, you've already worked so hard for this ingrained audience of whether it's 1,000 or 1 million. Let's activate those already followed people or those followers that you already have and bring them to something that's an added value. What doesn't exist out there? So we created Gourmet, where a culinary creator, whether it's a baker, mixologist, whatever it may be, can activate one to one, one to few, or one to many. We have everything from bakers, mixologists, dietitians, former athletes. We have professional grillers. We've gone out and we've really put a great team around us, and this has been in such a short time. September was the initial inception. We've gone into development in December, and I really want to talk about what we've done is we've built a great team. And Fiscus is a community organized, it's very community driven, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a team around us that is community driven, from the top down. We have an amazing team of advisors around us. We have Jacob Polisek, who's the former CEO and co-founder of Vista Credit, who's really been helpful to us on our company org. We have Mary Del Monte. She's the former VP of both Sobeys and Loblaws, because eventually when we are having these integrated cooking sessions live, we want to have a grocery distributor. So we've already signed an NDA with one of the 2 biggest grocery distributors in Canada. We have Larry Smith, who's a senator in Canada, who is going to do all of our benevolent stuff. We have just a wide array. Actually, Kyle is our chief technical officer because we love Kyle so much and what they do at LinkPoint. But really what takes us to the next level is we've also, our chief creative designer, creative officer is Kathleen Hefferman, who's Kanye West's executive producer for 10 years. She's a personal friend. She's coming in to add the celebrity aspect to Gourmet once we launch. But it all comes down to, instead of building a social media platform and calling it that, we're building a small business for people. We understand that every creator works really hard for every dollar that they make. So we want to present them a platform where we give them the keys to the shop. They open the doors. We don't have too many stringent parameters so they can create whatever they want. For instance, we have a dietitian, Abby Sharp, who has 1.2 million followers uniquely, and she's going to do hour-long webinars on dietetics. Where she can sell tickets. So if she can activate 1% of her audience, she can make up to $75,000 within an hour just charging tickets to her dietetic seminars. So what started as live cooking classes is really melding and directing into, well, what can we do to our audience in the culinary world that doesn't exist that we can add value to on Gourmet?
Brad, I think you guys have absolutely nailed, a market segment that definitely needs some love. Like, we know that hospitality has been hit hard in the pandemic for sure. Sure. And, I do have a couple questions that I wanted to work through and sort of have answered for the community. But in doing so, I realized that one of these users, Willow, kind of asked the question for me. So I'm gonna address their question first, and effectively they're asking, what drew you guys to Fiscus? How'd you find out about it? What's the overall appeal, I suppose, in going to a community-based investment strategy versus private equity or something otherwise?
Well, through my business career and my association with a couple amazing colleagues, myself and Brooke know a vast amount of sophisticated investors within the Canadian and U.S. markets, and they're private equity investors. And sometimes you just feel disconnected from the private equity sector. And what really drew us to Fiscus was the community-driven and forward-thinking that comes from it. And even having a discussion like this on this platform creates an open conversation for what, why, and how in a way that you don't have with private equity. I feel like private equity, and I don't want to say, what triggering words, but I want to say soulless, but it's not that. There's no connection. There's no visceral connection to private equity. They want to come in, they want their percentage, and they want to make a return. There's no real value added that they add except for the money. What we've done is we've built a team around us that cares about gourmet and cares about culinary and cares about creating this side hustle for people who need it. And our team is built like our family. There's not a single person that has not been connected to us for at least 10 years or someone we know for a substantial amount of time. We're not just taking on people to build a team so that we look good on paper. We're building a team so that this family can move forward together, and it kind of coincides directly with what I believe Fiscus's core values are.
No, that's well answered. I know private equity in some forms that it exists today is absolutely archaic. Just when you start seeing where types of funding move, I know that with my involvement in Fiscus from a technical standpoint, and also serving full disclosure, Brad, you mentioned it, I handle some of the technical components there for Gourmet. The synergies I see is where you've got a really passionate community here at Fiscus that help drive development, and from a certain point, let's sort of pump our own tires. We're brilliant, but we okay, let's pat ourselves on the back. Sometimes we got to do that, right? But sometimes we also don't know what we don't know, and having community, having support, having other perspectives, while they might all not always be right, it provides at least thoughtful engagement, thoughtful discussion that might not help answer the direct question. I mean, bonus points if it does, but it can absolutely help discover other problems that might exist or other opportunities that could exist. So, sort of in a nutshell.
Kyle, I just want to echo one thing you said really quick, which just was amazing. You said, we know what we don't know, and that's the impetus of business that everyone says. When we fill a placeholder in our company with these amazing advisors that we've put around us, it's because we understand our limitations as a company, as business people, and the smartest business people are the ones who put the smarter people around them. And I feel like when we're putting placeholders for our advisors, Fiscus fits as a partner for us because it almost seems like it's an advisor with that fills 6,000 placeholders. It feels way more. When we talk about community-driven ideas and thoughts, there's only so much that we can pin our advisors on, whereas Fiscus is a community that you can dive deep in with people who actually would care about you and your product, and not just your product itself.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. Working through some of some technical issues here recently, we're I guess a drawback of a community is you've got that level of transparency, and they're holding you to dates, deadlines, milestones. But that's also one of the benefits is, you really have that driving force, you have that motivation, you have that support. So, it's multifaceted in the power of a community. And I, just for what it's worth, I really appreciate it. I like that, you and Brock and the entire team is open to working with the community. So that's awesome.
Well, where you think drawback, I think dates and deadlines are my favorite thing in the world. Being that my professional career, half of it is in television. If you don't start when the show starts, you're not going to be on the show. So when it says the drawback, I think it's the best thing ever. When people put pressure on you, that's when people like myself and Brooke really fly.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. One of the other values I want to mention about community, and then I'll move on, is that recently, when we were looking at some support here on compliance and auditing, we do have the resources internally, and if we need to go out and hire, we can. But having community support and involvement is critical. It's absolutely invaluable. And so we did put it out to the Fiscus community, for a certain resource, and we had some great responses and some very qualified, call it applicants. And through our own communities, we can also support one another in bringing those resources in if they've got, the valued skill set. So I feel like there might be some members of the Fiscus community that could also lend opinion to Gourmet, especially as we speculate, because right now Web 3.0 is a very speculative landscape, but I know that there's some exciting things that you and Brock and the entire team have in mind for Web 3.0. Why don't you sort of walk us through some of those ideas?
Well, yeah, the beauty of what we're doing is because, and I want to say our parameters are very loose on this, because when we start a small business for these people, we want them to be able to adapt just like everyone is adapting to how quick the technical landscape is changing. As we've seen over COVID, I think it's just because more eyes and more time has been spent consuming the latest trends that are coming out, that they're exploding at a rate that we've never seen before. And the beauty of what we're doing as Gourmet is that our MVP is kind of set as this, active and passive income. You can activate and launch your platform and go live whenever you want. You can plan events. You can also have a YouTube kind of styled MasterChef downloadable component. But when you're talking about Web 3.0, NFTs, crypto, whatever it may be, those discussions have been amazing because we've built this platform to be very flexible so that all of our creators, all of our users, and anything that gets integrated, anything that becomes not a fad and is proven and going forward, is something that we can implement. I just did my first virtual meeting on Web 3.0 on Oculus the other day, and it was really trippy. I have to be honest with you. But we've also had amazing talks with a few of our celebrities, specifically about NFTs and how we use those as marketing rollout tools. How do we become the first and prominent site and platform to be able to NFT food and recipe? Legally, that's something that we're looking into now, because recipes are very tricky things because there's no origin date on most of them. But yes, Brooke and I have created this thing in order for it to be flexible so that we can adapt to anything that's coming in the near future.
Awesome. I know that one of our users here were mentioning. Xshot was saying that Gourmet should probably should look at hosting a cook-off between the Fiscus team, and I think that would be brilliant. I think like just the platform, the way it's set up, the way we could do sort of interactive cook-offs, that would be amazing. I know that. Some of the concepts there, and just getting back to Web 3.0, because I want to finish off a couple thoughts. Where people are curating virtual experiences. There was a client I was talking to the other day where we were talking about creating virtual museums and showing off this one particular client's NFTs. But I know as it relates to Gourmet, we were talking about perhaps having virtualized kitchens and maybe having that experience where you've got there was another user I was talking about. Looking at recipes and online on YouTube. I think let me remember the username. My memory's not what it was. I think it was JW Bar. I think that's what it was. And so the user was suggesting that they get their cooking tips from YouTube. And for me, I've got a few people on YouTube that I like to watch. Usually it's more pitmasters and what have you. And so if we're having those video experiences, if we're also having kitchens where, again, these are all revenue streams to the business, because at the end of the day as well, when we're looking at supporting the DAO, we're looking at also getting a return, because there is a capitalistic perspective to this too. So if people are curating their own virtual kitchen environments and all that stuff, they're buying virtual whatever pieces of art and appliances and what have you. Like, this is kind of the world that Web 3.0 is sort of existing in or forming. And so as I mentioned earlier, we're speculating, but Brad, from your perspective, how do you see sort of that experience for Gourmet, and where can we land on the community to support us a bit on that?
Yeah, with our version 1.0, when we're rolling out our MVP, Brooke and I have kind of scheduled, and obviously the schedule will change as we adapt to technology, but our version 2, version 3, version 4, and what we can add on. Obviously, the goal is to become a full-fledged e-commerce platform with a marketing, with a e-commerce market. And when you talk about Web 3.0, our first discussions with development the other day, which was this virtual kitchen idea, which is, think about being able to sit at a chef's table. You have to spend $1,000 at any regular high-end restaurant minimum to sit beside chef's table. Being able to pop in for such a discounted rate, I think the rate that we're looking at is like $1.99 to be able to sit and watch a professional high-end chef like Suserly or like Iron Chef Michael Simon to sit down. But what if you got up from your table and their entire marketplace was not only food, but you can go over to the counter and see what kind of knives he's using, and you can buy them, click link in your cart, they're sent to you the next day. The atmosphere of this kitchen can take on a whole different kind of aura than just the cooking aspect itself. You can go over to their drawers and pick through their recipe cards. You can for no price at all, because as we've realized, recipes are a zero value, seeing how you can go onto any website and really but what that activation is, to go over, see his knives, see what kind of Chef's Works apron he's using, see what kind of produce he uses, how he sharpens his knives. Like it can become something that doesn't exist, almost as if it is a virtual kitchen Shopify in itself.
Awesome. Now, I wanted to go into a little bit more, just my latter point there on the capitalistic side, because just understanding the numbers, the opportunity a bit better, and then sorry, there's one more point. Hold on, let me think. No, I think I was just getting hungry. So maybe talk to us about the revenue and numbers a bit more.
Yeah, the revenue is actually for the day one. We're going to have one-to-one private events, one-to-one group events, one-to-many, which can be an unlimited amount of drop-in events. Those are all live interactions. So say, an Iron Chef of the caliber that we have an LOI with drops in. He goes on all of his social media platforms. Join me on Gourmet. He has 1.1 million followers. Say that we can have a return rate of 1% of his followers come over to the site. He activates those 1% within a moment. We take a 20 to 25% commission of that. I say the two different schemes because right now we are signing on high-end creators pre-launch and giving them a grandfather discount rate forever. Once the doors open, those rates will go up to 25%, which is industry standard for pretty much all creator platforms that do live viewing. From that, if you look at those numbers specifically, the 1% of the 1.1 million is 111,000 at $1.99, which is our average rate. So the revenue structure is there day one. It's an incredible amount. We are very lucky that my network, through Food Network and through restaurants, allows us to have access to these creators who are being bombarded by all sorts of other creator platforms that don't exist for just culinary. This is the one-stop foodie shop. So when you talk about revenue, we will be revenue generating day one. As these creators we have signed, they sign a minimum 12 event per year, so one per month for 1 year. So within the 30 creators that we just have, times that by 12, and that we have over 300 live events our first year, guaranteed by high-end creators. When the door opens and these people are able to see what these creators are making, we assume that our rate of doubling the actual creator base will happen within about 2 to 3 weeks, just based on natural grassroots marketing that the creators are doing themselves. So our initial marketing budget won't be extreme for our soft launch. But when you talk about active versus passive, that's where it really comes in. So say you have someone like Abby Sharp that I talked about, the dietitian earlier, where she can make, based on her analytics, $75,000 in an hour, which is an incredible amount of money. We take 20% of that. But not only is that active, Abby is also on YouTube, but she can also do course downloads that are passive. So you can go on her page, and if she's not online to cook with you, you can download tutorials, tutorials, cooking classes, knife skills, how to diet quicker. So the interesting fact is that you're going to get this person to earn that amount of money in the moment and be super happy. But when they wake up in the morning and see that their passive content has made them half of that money, they're really going to develop, okay, how do we make our passive content better to activate our live content? And that is just for version 1.0. So our revenue stream, I like to say this because we're not a natural startup. We are a natural startup in the fact that we are starting this from the ground up, but we are not natural in the fact that because of what I do for a living, I have access to all these amazing people that are going to put us on a level of which it would take millions and millions and millions of marketing dollars to create the buzz around.
And just to add a point there, we talked very briefly about creating this online marketplace as well and getting a grocery integration. So what we want to do is, take a small booking fee off of the sales of any products through the platform as well.
Yeah, what's happening right now is the referral marketing is very easy. And if something, just say what we're talking about, the knives, where you look and, oh, he uses Ginsu knives and I love those knives. The referral marketing is easy money right off the bat. As Brooke said, with the grocery distribution, we've already had talks about a revenue split. So when you activate someone, and you put it this way, if you do Good Food or HelloFresh, which are amazing companies, you're getting your box for an average of $22 to $32. The average attrition rate of a consumer is 3 months, and then they don't like the boxes anymore because they're not fun. What we're doing is we're basically adding a live creator to cook with you, and we're sending you the ingredients if you want, or you shop for them yourself. So if you are sending those ingredients, the grocery distribution chain that we're talking to, which is the largest online grocery distributor right now in Canada, we would have a 5% flat fee on every single product that's sold out of there. So really, when you're looking at our rollout, it's a 1A, which is your MVP, a 1B, which is your grocery distribution, and then the 1C is as soon as we can roll out an e-commerce marketplace for all the kitchen utilities and utensils.
Okay, awesome. I was going through some of the discussions here on with VeChain, and one of their, I guess there's a use case here as it pertains to food traceability and safety. Shoot the Breeze was posting that, so I'll follow up with them afterwards. That sounds like an interesting case study I'd want to read. Okay, awesome. Well, I know that we've taken up a lot of time here, so I'll sort of bring it to a close. I know that Gourmet is a project you guys are very passionate and have your heart and soul into. I myself am very admired by your passion for the project, and it is sort of infectious. Like, I share the same passion with you. For the community, I know that internally we've talked about this. I don't want to leak too much, but potentially there could be a model. Think pelleting for the kitchen. I don't know if that exists. Maybe yes, no. But for the Fiscus community, part of supporting projects like Gourmet and the others in our pipeline here is really through the power of our community. And so, I want to encourage that. We are sharing this with our friends. We are inviting them to come and be part of the community, join us, learn what opportunities exist here, the projects, just sort of everything that we're doing. And what's really interesting as well, just sort of understanding some of the other off-chain contracts that exist and knowing what the ecosystem looks like. There's also, great opportunity for cross-pollination. So for some of the businesses, doing business with other businesses, it's a really great setup. And Phil and the entire team have done an amazing job putting together sort of this architecture and bringing everybody together for this cause. So, without further ado, bringing sort of the Gourmet piece of this presentation to a close. Anything that you, Brad or Brooke, would like to leave off with before we turn it back over to Phil?
I think you said it perfectly there. Brooke and I, if we were to have a one-line motto for this company, it's the inclusivity of what we're doing. We understand, and I understand through my life and business and television and anything that I've done, is that without the network that you have supporting you of great people, you're only as good as your network. because as much as we're up, there's always people who are down. As much as you're down, there's always people up, and there's a teetering effect that has to happen, and that's why you create a network and you create a community so that you can have those opportunities. And we're just so lucky to be on this call and be heard and be acknowledged, because this is our 24/7 a day life, putting into our hard work so that we can help these people. Obviously, we're going to monetize a little. I don't want to sound too benevolent there, but I've been through and I've seen just how hard some of these people work in order to make a living, and I just want to help them take that next step. Just like someone helped me get the first keys to my small business, I want to open a small business and again give those keys to those creators.
Amazing. All right. Well, Brad, Brooke, thank you so much. Phil, back to you.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Brooke. Thanks again for the community, for the awesome interaction as well. Though we are excited to have Gourmet as part of Fiscus Ease. Moving forward, Princess is here with us, and with her, I'll let her introduce, and we'll be able to go from there. But just thrilled, everyone. Let us keep on going, and so let's get into the amazing announcements that she has for us as well.
Hello, community. So excited to see the listening audience growing today. Not only do we have some great announcements, but Phil and I are working around the clock to really get in as many deals as we can here. I am overwhelmed with opportunities, which is not a bad thing in the world that I work in. I was listening in about how private equity and off-chain deployment of capital it's really competitive right now. That's where we're seeing so many teeth bearing into the market. We're really seeing a lot of shifts, a lot of things growing and waning. And I mean, everybody's been on this roller coaster this week, I'm quite sure, in everybody's portfolio. But in my world, and on this side of things, we actually thrive, because at the end of the day, people need resources, and that's what this whole project is about getting resources to those creators, to the entrepreneurs out there. We know that it's the creators that help to heal a lot of the challenges that we're seeing, and so that's what we're driving for. With all of that being said, I am definitely steeped in a lot of work, making sure that we're getting through the I's dotting and T's crossing of the contracts that we are issuing out, and I am beyond thrilled because now I have something to bring back to these companies to say, actually, not only can we fund you, but we actually have a window of opportunity when that funding actually drops into their account. So just like the rest of us in the crypto world operate waiting for different airdrops to happen and such, and these groups have been working not just for months but years on their projects, as we just heard from the wonderful project of Gourmet. I'm looking forward to learning more about that project, actually, on the financial end. But that's really the basis of my conversations. It's less about how much does this cost and more about how when can you distribute, when can you get us the funds, because right now time is of the essence. And I keep pressing this not only with Phil and my conversations, but really it's what we're seeing the history unveil itself right now in our global financing objective. So along with Mina Zaga, Wawea, we are doing an amazing job of really making sure that the funds connect. And in my education skills, I'm having to really kind of bring some people into what it is that the DAO is all about. What does it mean to be a part of a community that actually holds you accountable? What does it mean to be transparent about private matters? What does it mean to be transparent about contractual matters? All of these conversations, without a doubt, we're having in our community, but we're also having in the off-chain environment. We're shifting the landscape. We're shaking the ground underneath a little bit, not just for accountability, but for the sake of understanding what's in store for us in the future of development when we talk about ESG impact modeling and ESG impact companies. What about green tech? How do we avoid or how do we take care of this, the whole idea of greenwashing? How do we make sure we're not doing that as financiers, but also how do we make sure we're not doing that in the projects We're seeing oil spike right now. So what does that mean for the domestic front here in the United States? What's that mean for the global environment? All of these are very real conversations that I'm having on a daily basis. With all of that, I ground myself in my indigenous ways of knowing, connecting with not just one tribe, but let's talk about 20 tribes here in the United States that are all looking to get these solutions into the reservation lands and for them to reclaim the technologies and IP that they actually have had for a while, but now they can get financed. Now they can actually get these ideas not just to their reservation, but actually to the whole marketplace. So I'm just, you might hear some of my energy. That's what I'm driving with right now, which is really not something you typically hear from a financer, but that's where I'm at because I have so many wonderful groups to bring forward and to really help to round out not just the one fund, but many funds. You know, the 5 that we have, I have a nice even stacking of different opportunities that are going to be coming forward in the coming weeks and months as we continue down this path of doing something that's really unheard of. And in that unheard of, we're making sure people are hearing, listening, understanding exactly what the future of project finance and structural finance, what that actually looks like. So thank you for the questions that are being posed in the community. As you have seen, I'm definitely a lurker because I'm doing so much on the back end here, but I like seeing sort of the engagement. I like seeing what's on people's minds. Mostly to see where's the gap in understanding the difference between off-chain environment, the development in terms of project and deal making, to me understanding even more the depths of what crypto and on-chain and NFTs and the various coins that are out there. I'm still learning too. So I love the learning environment, of course, and so I'm just so excited to continue my presence not only in the community, but also in real life. I'm seeing a lot of my project owners, come here to Vegas. That's where I'm located. Come here, meet with me, talk with me, understand that I'm a real person. I got the best compliment this last week, which was, she's the real deal. And in my world, if you're a real deal, that's the best compliment you can get. Because that means that you can deliver, that means you can execute, and that means that you're listening. You're listening to what's needed and what can be provided to solve the challenges that are out there right now. So without much further ado, I did bring a guest with me. One of the things that you will recognize in a lot of the conversations that I have is that I reference my Filipino-American identity. I am exactly that, Filipino-American, 110%, if that's possible. And so one of the projects that's actually getting funded from the funds is a project that is near and dear to my heart, so much so that I decided to actually join in partnership. So my guest here is actually Philam TV Network CEO, Carl Magno, and I actually serve as the chairman to this organization. And together we sat down many months ago when I got to meet him and understand who he was. I actually had approached him to help me in understanding, how I could encourage an investment mindset in the Filipino-American community. This was back when I was doing investor related summits and, private events where I was really helping investors meet companies that were looking for capital. Back when I was on the PE side of the house. And when I met with him, what I recognized was not only a like spirit in terms of our community that we belong to, but also we saw things in similar fashion when it came to how do you build not only a community, but a business model that really opens itself up to a global atmosphere. We have a tremendous Filipino community in the diaspora of the world. About 10 million of us or more exist globally outside of the Philippines. We derive in the Philippines a ton of our GDP actually from those that are working overseas. And so we're very, very, very connected. So when we sat down and we kind of came up with this idea, well, what if there was a Filipino-American network station, something that could be broadcasted not only here in the United States, but globally? course, I was totally behind the times in this thinking. Carl caught me right up to speed, as you'll hear in my brief interview with him. That this has actually been a plan in the making, and I happen to be stepping in and support in just the right time, and of course bringing the next generation of Filipino Americans into the spotlight of what we understand as American TV networking. So, without much further ado, Carl, if you don't mind unmuting yourself, I would love for the community to meet you, and if you can introduce yourself and just a brief synopsis of how did we get here? How did we get to forming this Philam TV network?
Good afternoon, community. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak before you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I call Princess Madam Chair. She is not only a Filipino American, but her heart is very much into helping build this dream, this community of Filipino Americans. When Princess and I talked the very first time, sometime middle of last year, Princess asked me, how is the Filipino American community and how she would be able to participate in creating development projects for the community. I told her my basic answer was, what community? There's really no community here. There's no Filipino American community. There's basically Filipino community that's all coming from Metro Manila, the Philippines. So it's really not a Filipino American community. There's none, and that's the reason why my proposal on the table immediately was to create a community of Filipino Americans, content that is produced for the Filipino Americans, content which is produced by the Filipino Americans. So it's something that speaks for the Filipino American community, not coming all the way from the Philippines, not coming all the way from the mindset of people. And one of the reasons why we're here in America is because somehow we wanted to help our Philippine, our very own country, but we're not able to do that while we're there. So that's why we sought. There's this diaspora. We sought some bigger opportunities here in America, and we were able to successfully do that. And now it's time to pay back and all the generations that came before us. So that's why the real premise of Film TV Network is preserving the traditions, preserving the heritage of the Filipinos, and at the same time embracing what is today, capturing them in high definition, in 4K, and in all sorts of images, and essentially leading the pack in shaping the history of all of these new technologies like Meta and all of these virtual reality. And we all have content as our basic backbone. So from day one, from the very, very first project that I had in the Philippines, I have realized early enough that content is king, and content will be applicable, could actually be NFT denominated. So that from the get-go was the real reason why our Madam Chair and myself have gotten together and put on the table Film TV Network, as it will provide critical content. It will provide content that's timely. It will provide and make the Filipino American feel that there is a real community that listens to them, speaks to them, and basically cohabitate with them. So this, I believe, is the bigger reason why Film TV Network is currently operating. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Carl, thank you so much. One of the beautiful parts of the work that I get to do, community, is that I get to know a lot of the project owners very closely. Obviously, in this particular case, I really get to know Carl. I've gotten to meet his family, and he's extended himself as far as the network of friends that are so close to the work that we're doing. And what an amazing group in terms of achievements, in terms of their own paths into the entertainment space. And we all touch things globally. So, Carl, I was wondering if you could kind of help them see what's going on even between us and our relationship, and why would it be that I would approach someone like you to actually finance a project like this? What in your history can you help us understand your background? One of the things I'm particularly thinking of is the Lakbay TV project that you worked on in the Philippines. Can you help them understand exactly what you bring to the table in this particular position that allows you to be to hold the level of confidence entering a global broadcasting network station that's going to be competitive in the environment?
Yes, thank you, Madam. My my entry into the 24/7 linear TV programming is Lakbay TV. Lakbay TV was not only the very first travel channel in the Philippines, it was also the very first travel channel in the world, 2.5 years ahead of our travel channel here in America. So in the Philippines, we were scanning the environment. We were invited by the Lopez Group, Lopez Inc., the owners of ABS-CBN Broadcasting, the largest TV network before it got bought out just recently. And Lakbay TV was tasked to become the very first, it's a barker channel for a travel portal, lakbay.net. Lakbay means travel. In English, Lakbay Filipino word, travel is the English word. So Lakbay TV, if you know pretty much I don't know if you do, but the Philippines was pretty much, it's an archipelago composed of 7,107 islands. And however, because the seat of power was really in Metro Manila, the anything and everything that you hear in media is about Metro Manila. So it's Manila centric, and yet even if there's 7,107 islands, people don't know from the east what's happening in the west, and the north what's happening in the south. So understanding the uniqueness of our country, we endeavored to create the very first travel channel, and so when we did that, we went to practically 98% of the 7,107 islands, and in the first 3 months after we launched it in partnership with the Lopez Group and ABS-CBN, we domestic tourism in the Philippines grew by 3,000%, and that's because finally, the Filipinos knew what was happening in the outskirts and what's happening in all the other 7,100 islands. So that being the case, we were successful in creating that environment, that community of real Filipinos, not just the rich, not just those in the metropolitan area called Metro Manila, but even the tribal lands in the area, and there's a lot of them in the Philippines as well. So that became a real opportunity for us to create great content about the Philippines. We, the white sand beaches and stuff like that. So we have a lot of those content, and we were the very first ones because we were new. We were the very first ones to introduce digital equipment in the Philippines as well. And when that became successful after 2 years, we branched out us and rebranded ourselves into Living Asia Channel. So now from the Philippines, we essentially invaded the rest of Asia. So we renamed our channel into Living Asia Channel. So now it became the very first travel and lifestyle channel in Asia during that time. So we were also the very first ones in 2004 to bring our content to North America using the facilities of France Telecom and Singapore uh, um, Singtel. And then with that, we were able to compete directly initially with the Filipino channel which was based in San Francisco during the time. And as soon as they saw our content, they immediately said, "Okay, it's time for us to make a decision whether to compete with them or to be included as part of their offering in the Filipino channel." During that time, because of the lack of resources, we acceded to their offer. Paid us so much every month to be carried in their platform, the Filipino channel. So for the very first time, North Americans or Filipinos in Canada and Filipinos in America were able to watch content that was really designed for them, the thinking class. You know, it's not those that represent young girls half naked gyrating in public on noontime shows. These are the things we never ever considered doing because we wanted to create content that's family oriented. We wanted to create content that definitely brings out the best of Filipinos and Filipino Americans. So that was essentially accepted by the public. The viewing public was the TFC subscribers were willing to pay us a lot of money on a monthly basis to get that content. But uh, just like what happened to Lakbay TV, uh, we were essentially not included by the Lopez Group or the TFC in their platform when they moved to DirecTV. So therefore, at that time, the Filipino Americans never had any opportunity to get a real 24/7 content that's really uh, is being produced for them here in America. And because of that, we had some great loss there. So I moved to America for me to create content that's really produced here in first in New Jersey and New York, and then now in Las Vegas. And then when we started producing this content, we saw the hunger. We saw how Filipinos are actually here in America are really wanting to be part of that community, but because of our limited capability, our finances, and the cost of production, as you know, is expensive, more expensive here than in the Philippines. So therefore, it was really challenging for us to do so. And now, given the opportunity to be funded by Fiscus and this great community, we would love to be able to you know campaign to the whole Filipino American. There's about 4.5 million Filipino Americans. With this is the third largest Asian ethnic community in America, and it is also the fastest growing. The income level of Filipino Americans here are actually at the highest. It's one of the highest, even more so than Caucasians. So I'm very honored and to be able to do this with you. we should be able to maintain an atmosphere where we can actually allow Filipino Americans to call this effort, to call this digital platform their home. That's why our message to them is that finally there is a home for you. In our visits to the Consul General in Los Angeles, I gave him actually a 40-page list of broadcasters in California alone, which is part of his this his sphere of the coverage of the consulate. And I asked him how many of these broadcasters are Filipino Americans. He looked at the 40-page list, and there's really none. There's none. Only because there's really no PhilAm network. There's no network here that's dedicated to the Filipino Americans. And there's this hunger, and we're going to quench this hunger. We're going to quench this thirst for content that's aimed at for them and at them. And it is, I'm praying that this community will also be very, very active in letting us know and in giving us tips on how to even communicate better for the global Filipinos.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kuya Carl. You've just really, not only, you just daily inspire me to be thinking beyond myself when I'm looking at projects. I mean, this opportunity for the Filipino Americans in America is just incredible. Time is now, but even more so, it's an opportunity for all of us to get involved in the content creation of our stories. As many people have learned about me, narrative has been something that has been very important to me in my previous work history as a professor. It was, I always tell people the shortest distance between any two people in the world is a single story and a shared story. And so, that's what I'm loving about this project. And of course, with the wealth of experience that Carl brings to the project, it was a little undeniable for me to say, you know what, not only do I need to support this, but I got to roll up my sleeves and get involved as well. So I just wanted to, thank you again, Carl, for your insight and your, support of what we're trying to do on the financing side, but also being available to speak directly to the community. As many of you all know, I really strive to make sure that these project owners really own their projects, not just, come at me with a need for cash and a dip out of my life. That's not how I do business. I really am here to listen, and I'm here to understand what they need, and I use my financial engineering mindset to help in seeing how we can get there. And with Carl and others that I've met within the Filipino American community, we have started to open up the dialogue of what it means to have an investing mindset, to have a mindset that's actually on-chain versus off-chain. So we've done a lot of growing just in our conversations, and with each project owner, I really look for that. I look for that opportunity to learn and grow. And I know that even the group, I could pick that up from Gourmet, that they're looking to really respond to the market in a growing fashion. And so when I see things like that, I then get right to work, not just in the spreadsheets, but really look to see, all right, if we're looking at a project that's going to stay, how long do we need it to stay? Well, my indigenous mind says 7 generations. If you do the math, that's a lot people. It's a lot of really a long time horizon, as we say in finance. And when I'm looking at that kind of impact in the world, I need to make sure that these companies are well set up to be able to not only hit the ground running, but actually put the dollars to work in the most efficient ways to be able to grow whatever market segment that they're trying to grow. So that's really part of the process, is making sure that we have good, qualified, long history veterans positioned in the market to be able to take these new ideas to the moon and back, hopefully, or maybe to Mars and back, wherever it is that you want to go and come back to. That's what we're trying to strive for. So in any case, I know we've taken up some time, but thank you so much, y'all, for listening in to some of the conversations that I get to have with some of these project owners. And this is going to be something that we want to highlight at AMA, is to bring forward the project owners and project leaders that are helping to shape what really is going to become the future of our society. Because once these projects get up and running, it's not just about them and their families. It's about all of us. It's about that greater impact. So with all of that being said, Phil, that's what I'm going to say for today. I'll catch everybody in the different chat rooms, just making sure that I'm aware of what kinds of questions are being asked with regard to project finance and what it's like on the off-chain side. Again, I'm still working with a lot of these communities, project owners, around what they're willing to share and how we can kind of move beyond this idea of that secrecy is what makes a deal stronger. I don't necessarily believe in that. I believe that it is a rule that I follow to be engaged, but it is something that I'm looking to shift, and I think that the DAO community helps me to stay inspired to do so. So, Phil, without further ado, I'll pass it back to you and catch everybody in the chat room.
Thank you so much, Princess, and thank you so much, Carl. Absolutely, what a pleasure having him here. Excitement is really not even a word that really describes it. When we look at the vision that is and is part of Fiscus, there is no limit. A lot of things that we talk about, in life, we always talk about, things that have no limit, or things that have, no cap on the upside. That's saying it lightly. We've been saying this, and obviously the proof is in the pudding. And so, just to highlight what Princess was saying, we appreciate everyone's patience. It's been steps, and it's been a process to be able to get here where we're at now. And this is just the beginning. There are things that we haven't even discussed yet, that we haven't even gotten into, that are absolutely, for those that are looking for me to say that word, that are absolutely there, and are will take us to the next step, and will help us to continually be able to innovate. That is the staple that we see of firms now, of organizations now, of communities now that have a lasting impact. We must be able to continually innovate. And so that's something that is a part of all of the projects that you're seeing as well. Just as Princess noted, these are not projects that are here today and gone tomorrow. These are projects that have the ability to last a very, very long time. And we're thrilled to be a part of them now and into the future. And so let's get into our normal Fiscus Friday elements. Let's get into some of the great housekeeping. For that, I want to turn it over back to Kyle, who'll give us some updates.
Sounds good. Thanks, Phil. All righty. So getting into some of our functional updates here, and just going through some of Kevin's notes, some of Ken's notes, and sort of recapping what the team's been up to since last Friday. On the dev side, I know that from a Whitelist UI perspective, there were some bugs that we had to work out, and again, we needed to test and just ensure thoroughness through that process. So we're very happy that the Whitelist has now been finalized and we're ready for launch. I know that Phil will be providing more information with dates and details and all that fun stuff. So I don't want to steal that thunder. I'll let him do that. Working through the updates, Shoot the Breeze is taking some time to construct a full how-to guide, and so that would sort of better assist the community during the launch. So that's something that we'll release here shortly. But just a real pat on the back here for the admins in the community. And I know that there's been a bit of frustration in general. And I know it's kind of acknowledged that while we want things to sort of happen on certain timelines or as we'd want them, sometimes, we need to deal with challenges. And one of the things that we've come to learn just in our experiences is that, sometimes you don't want to force things. You don't want to be reckless because that's going to have other implications. You'd rather be thorough and take an extra couple days, might have to disappoint a couple people, but at the end of the day, you've got a very solid platform. You've got a very solid environment. I can go on with analogies, but I'm really shitty with analogies, so I'll save you guys that. Now, the dev team, they've already started on the LBP. The team will be utilizing Copper Launch on Polygon. So one of our devs, Soil, he's already created the token, and the admins are now testing that. We should know we will need to know the results of the whitelist, which we know will fly through to get a better indication of sort of the number of tokens for the LBP and all that fun stuff. So that'll be a follow-on announcement. Speaking to operations, we had some meetings here last couple days, even one this morning with we call it a legal guild. So internally, we've got a couple of resources that are assigned as our internal compliance officer. That's going to be Bill Potts and Patrick. And they work with Mike Rabinovich, who leads the legal guild. And so we were effectively contemplating a compliance structure for the DAO itself. So recently, I mean, regulation's always changing. It's fairly new space, and so we acknowledge that. So recent regulation has expanded the opportunities for us. An example of that is Marsh Island has become friendly to registering DAOs. So that's something that we're researching and looking into. We also have the legal guild preparing reports and additional compliance and regulation compliances and best practices for us. We've effectively retained them, and they specialize in this area. So their reporting will take about 2 to 3 weeks, and they'll help us through the process and just ensure that, again, everything's solid. So if ever, say in the future, there is additional regulatory crackdown, we're not going to have issues with that. We've got our I's dotted, our T's crossed, and we've got the right team here behind us to support us through any of those types of changing events. We also speculate that if regulation were to change, that there's also grace periods that are factored in. So, having the team at hand will help us move through those processes very quickly. And we're not left sort of man on an island, right? We're able to kind of sort through these types of things. At the moment, we're also in touch with CertiK for code review audits on specifically the smart contracts. We've signed NDAs, and access has been granted to sort of the GitLab to have that process started ASAP. We want to move through that quickly, but again, without haste. CertiK's one of the most trusted names in smart contract auditing, so we're happy to open those conversations with them and have support. Our internal SOPs, including procedures around community announcements, were constructed and approved. What we found was internally our announcing procedures perhaps could be a bit more effective and a bit more efficient. So we've streamlined that. And we're hoping this will help us in how we interact with community announcements and how we handle that in general, just to better build communication and transparency. We're also working on additional SOPs around communication, so emails, workflows, and security protocols. In fact, most of that stuff's drafted. We're just needing to put it into sort of formalization and then train staff up. So with all these things sort of around dev and operations, we definitely appreciate the patience, and we know that we're eager to get going. We've got some really exciting projects. We heard from 2 of them today, but we've got some very exciting projects in the hopper, and we're really wanting to move forward here. On the marketing side, Tiago and his team, they're working on advertising pieces for a bunch of different socials, including Reddit. I mean, that's been a primary. We do see some discussions starting to form on Reddit. Some have already formed in the past. And so, some good questions there. And we've got resources addressing questions and just information. The design team's completing any graphical pieces that are going up. And so some of our advertising, while we do promote Fiscus directly, some of it's also talking about just opportunities that DAO brings indirectly. And so a really easy and understandable analogy to that is, real estate. A lot of people have a dream of owning real estate, and sometimes not all of us can afford real estate, at certain times in our life or at all. And so, if you think of investment opportunity being, fractional purchases in real estate. To a lot of people that resonates, right? Because that is a dream that a lot of people have. And so with Fiscus, that is something that is possible, right? And it helps us not just have that opportunity, but also be able to empower us to earn off of it. And so I think that's a very powerful thing. And so marketing is going to be speaking to those types of points. Additionally, we have drip campaigns and other sort of lead gen funnel campaigns that will draw members to the community. We haven't really been sort of super active about that in the past, but also we were in early stages, right? We were in stages of development, not so much stages where we have something and ready to go. And I'm sure y'all can sort of understand that if our community were too big and there's a mass amount of opinions, you're going to have discussions, across a really wide spectrum of emotion. So, for example, let's talk about the recent hiccups here in dev, some of the bugs that we encountered, which are now resolved. We did have a couple people that had concerns, right? And if that were on scale, you can imagine again how out of hand that can get very, very quickly. And some people, and I think it's, the base community right now, the early supporters, let's call it, can understand that when we're building, you get the vision, you understand what's coming, right? And you're able to kind of see that and have that insight, have that buy-in. When you have people that sometimes might not understand that, they sort of want a quick return, quick reward. They just might get disappointed in that not coming fast enough. So now that we're here, now that we've got some projects in the pipeline and we're ready to go, it just makes sense to start bringing others into the community. So, I'm very, very excited about that. I'm very excited about our marketing teams ramping that up. Our other social channels will be activated this upcoming week, and so we're widening our digital footprint. That's really the theme, I guess you can say, of the next couple of weeks, is really widening that digital footprint, educating potential community members and bringing them into our ecosystem, right? Having them be as excited about our projects and what we're doing as we all are. So that's in a nutshell what's going on with marketing. Couple of other points here I'll mention really quickly. One thing I've got to acknowledge is thanks for putting up with me. I just I'm sort of overcoming COVID a bit, so my voice is taking a bit of a beating, and hopefully I'm coherent and you guys can hear what I'm saying. But some of the opportunities we want to bring to the community is perhaps, and I'm not promising this, but perhaps opportunities to showcase some of your own projects or something in your pipeline. And to that effect, we're going to be putting some documentation together around best practices on how to put a project together, right, and what that looks like. And sort of getting back to some of my earlier points here on us just developing, we're kind of at that stage as a platform where project intake will be something that Phil might address here in the future. And while we couldn't speak to some things again in the past because they were in development, we're ready to go. Like this, our engine here is fired up and we're quite excited. So I'll kind of close here with just urging you guys to get the word out about our community. Let's invite people in. Let's really build it here. So with that, I'll turn it over to Phil.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Absolutely, it's been a true pleasure having you on here today, and we look forward to having you on next week as well. The announcements that I think a lot are waiting on is one that we are about to make. But let's hear from Donnie first. In regards to Whitelist, there's some points I think Donnie needs to make, and then we will make the official Whitelist announcement, date, time, excitement. Go right ahead, Donnie.
I guess I'll start off by saying I'm going to lead the team to in the Asian categories of the cook-off against Gourmet. So maybe we need to form a team. It sounds like. But kidding aside, I want to go over just a few things. We completed the I would say final, but it's really not final. It's the most updated whitelist addresses that we could possibly have. We are going to submit that and that'll be our initial whitelist. And the interface will be described to you guys in the channels, but basically the whitelist is limited as far as buying goes to those to the addresses we submitted. We recognize that the whitelist itself, the original whitelist, was done a couple months ago, so there might be some of the addresses might have changed, might have been stale, whatever the case may be. We will have a kind of a I guess an IT ticket kind of process where we can where the members, that if they have problems purchasing on the whitelist, that they'll have a recourse to describe that problem. We can research it and then resolve those. As far as just the whitelist itself, I want to clarify something, that your Discord roles generally will include a whitelist role. But if you are an NFT holder, you've received tokens via OG or Genesis, so you're automatically on the whitelist for that, even if your Discord role doesn't reflect that. We did change the roles. We didn't change all of them to the NFT holders. We didn't add the whitelist role always, but because there was some redundancy in the whitelist and the NFT holders, and also the OG and Genesis. So just know that if you have any of those roles, Genesis, OG, NFT holders, you are on the whitelist, even if it's not reflected in your role. So that's kind of the mechanics of kind of behind the scenes of how we will approach issues with the whitelist itself. We're very happy to get at least the dev part of it over with, and then we will continue to progress onto the LBP and then eventual NFT exchange. So that's really all I needed to say. But just be patient if you don't mind, and I'll always be able to contact the admins or me, and we can resolve any issues. I think we've done a pretty good job of that. So back to you, Phil.
Very nice, Tony, and absolutely great job. That's something that I think one of the things I think that sets us apart as Fiscus is, again, in our striving to be the most transparent DAO in doing things that other DAOs have not done or not even began to think about or try to accomplish. We have to be available. That means being here in the Discord. That means being able to answer DMs in a timely manner. The added support that we have from the community in the form of not only admins and mods, but Fiscus experts and support experts. Those roles are valued. So let us take the time now and say thank you to all of you. Thank you for the time that you spend here in the Discord, because you could be somewhere else. You could be in another project. You could be just chilling on the couch, with family. And so for you guys to be here with us and to be engaged and to actively learn the concepts and actively learn what we're doing, why we're doing it, why we're doing things in a different manner, what we're accomplishing, is amazing to see, and that gives us energy. That amplifies the things that we are doing. That incentivizes us to not only meet and exceed, but to be able to explain and expound. And so, thank you all for that. That's something we are so thankful for. There are a few questions here in the AMA channel. Several were already addressed. Additional questions, feel free to submit those. We'll be jumping in. These questions that are specific to certain projects, that's something that's a benefit and a boon now to the community. Now is the time. The admins have been waiting for these specific channels and specific project channels. We're here now, And so we can be able to address certain questions specifically to projects. And when you think about it, when has that ever existed? When can someone that has a level 1 NFT be able to ask these questions and converse with a project owner that may be 1,000 miles away, 2,000 miles away, across the world? That is something that we are doing. We are the first to do that. And we have so much more in store with regards to that alone. And what that does is that makes us all better, right? The quote that is on that's on my Twitter that has been there since the very beginning is that all of us we are truly smarter, all of us as a group, than just one of us, to summarize that. And we believe that, and we've always believed that. And so some of these questions here, let me touch on these. Some of them that are project specific, we'll leave those to the project developers and owners. We appreciate that now in the Discord, and so they'll be able to respond to those. Question here was talking about from a functionality standpoint. Can we see the speed at which projects can create wallets, fund, and deploy being an issue that creates a bottleneck for Fiscus? Meaning if projects are in queue and some projects are slow at accomplishing those few steps, would that be problematic and slow down other projects ready to go? Is there any clause or agreement in regards to timeline after signing that says that projects have these things ready to go in a timely manner? The greatest response to this was something that we envisioned months ago. This is the reason for Fiscus Funds. Fiscus Funds, being the master borrower for most of these projects, is able to convert that fiat into crypto and satisfy the treasury, satisfy NFT holders. That's the reason for Fiscus Funds, so that we can be the most efficient, so that we don't have to worry about and have the risk of waiting to receive from a project, from a project developer and a project owner. And again, the reason why that's there is because while we recognize that project owners and developers have stellar projects, you guys have heard that from these two. And these two today are crypto-minded projects. And so we're not speaking of them in reference to this, but other projects that aren't necessarily as crypto-centric and minded in that way, they are in a position to where crypto this is their entree into crypto. And so to expect for them to be able to, let's say, start a wallet, be able to fund that wallet with proceeds from their financing, and then be able to send that is asking, at times, it's asking more than they could accomplish as feasibly as Fiscus Funds could. And so Fiscus Funds is there in order to take that from them and also to put us in a position to where, from a risk perspective, from a counterparty risk perspective, we don't have any. That's the benefit of Fiscus Funds. And so that's the answer to that question. Next question there is obviously has been answered. We talked about those coming into the AMA, and both of them had addressed the question about what drew them to Fiscus and how did they find out about it. We have, as you guys know, I really feel like we have an all-star team. You guys have heard from obviously Donnie. His skill set is amazing and so vast, and his reach is so much more than what we've talked about. You guys have heard from Kyle, who we want back next week. You've heard from Princess. And so when you look at their skill sets, their abilities, and then when you multiply that by the amount of project owners and developers that are in need of funding, we've truly created a platform. Those at times that would see a project like ours and just look at it from a token perspective, even from just a simple tokenomics perspective without understanding the benefits of the platform, you're not seeing the full picture. And so I would encourage anyone and everyone, see the full picture. That's what's taken this time to develop. We are the difference between in an instant picture that you would take in your phone, and that picture that needs to be developed, that needs to mature. And when it does, it hangs in the halls of the Met or of MoMA, right? That's what we're building. And because we're still in crypto, we're building it at a rapid pace. We're not talking about, some of these legacy off-chain firms that take years and years to build. We're not that. We are right at 100 days from the start, and yet look where we're at, and so excited for the next 100 days. That next question there. Will the governance and voting rewards provided in the fund overviews be a fixed fiat amount divided against all NFT holders, or is it divided amongst just the holders that vote govern in with their NFT? So for let's take, because it's kind of there's two aspects to that question. So let's talk about voting rewards. In the future post-launch, voting rewards, when you vote, you're able to receive that reward. Those that do not vote obviously don't receive the voting reward. Excuse me. The thought there is that, again, we want to incentivize the community to know about the projects, understand the projects, let your voice be heard about the projects. When we look at governance, and that's specifically for level 2 and level 3, different category, but again, those are based on activity. Those are based on action. And that's the reason they're created that way. Sponsorship is an element that we have not, began to even discuss. There's so many mechanisms and things that can be done there. I was in a conversation with admins just before the AMA about various forms of sponsorship that could evolve. We're leaving some of that open with regards to sponsorship. One, to be flexible to what the community wants, especially after launch, but also knowing that the best is yet to come. And so therefore, when we look at competition for project finance, when we look at competition inside of our community to be able to fund various projects, we know that we want to leave that open. We want to leave that up for full community involvement and direction. And we're excited to do that. With the second part of that question, pools will be established, specific pools for each reward category. We have to do that obviously because there are certain NFT holders that are part of each category, certain ones that are not. They'll be claimable. The NFT rewards will be based on stables. Those again are flowed through Fiscus funds and paid to those pools. So again, we've mitigated risk from that perspective. That follow-up question there is that does that not mean that all eligible NFT holders participate? The pool money will be divided amongst less NFT holders. That's correct. All of that is structured that way, with the exception of the project royalties. That is based on all NFT holders. And there's no activity in that sense of the governance or voting that is involved in that way. Community involvement is the activity for the project royalties. Make sure I finish that last here. Perfect. What kind of market, moving on, what kind of market or focus testing have we explored with Gourmet thus far? Definitely a Gourmet specific question, so we'll let them answer that. That next one too, about some of the celebrity chefs that they've signed up with. I do know of some, but again, I want to make sure that comes from them and their most updated information. I did get even a DM from a community member that has access to, I think, one of the most well-known chefs. And so already we're seeing the impact of our community in that we can not only assist projects from the perspective of finance, from structuring, but we can actually assist them in their projects. We can provide a benefit to them. Therefore, when they succeed, Fiscus succeeds. And how exciting is that? All right, with that being said, I think the question that's not listed, but I think it's a question that we received every week at least for the last few weeks, one of my favorite questions because it's just so forward and so blunt. When whitelist, right? When whitelist. The whitelist, Monday, February 28th. We'll be starting at 8 a.m. Central. At 6 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. UTC. We're thrilled for that. The accepted tokens USDC and USDCE on AVAX. We'll provide all the other details as far as the specific contract address so that everyone knows that they are interacting in the right way. URL so everyone knows they're interacting in the right way. As Donnie had already mentioned, from a eligibility standpoint, we have everyone that we have. Again, we've being a community that was founded in November. Some of the original OGs, those addresses, we're still waiting for them to be able to update, and so we want to make sure that they have an opportunity. We always appreciate what the Cryptonaires did for the initiation of the community, and so just so you're hearing it from us again, they're fully accepted. Those that had completed the whitelist eligibility, able to participate. Thrilled for all NFT holders to be able to participate, and obviously we have those addresses. And so that's what's going on. Whitelist, Monday, 2/28, starting at 8 a.m. Central Time. I always base that on my time here in Texas. That will last for 72 hours. So ample time. We want to make sure that obviously the announcement's going out now. We'll be posting that on Twitter. We'll post that, here in the announcements here in the Discord, and want everyone to have ample time. We know that there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in crypto. I think today is probably a little bit of a better day. There's been some growth in some of the majors as various kind of situations have played out. And so we want everyone to be prepared and have ample time. So feel free to DM with questions and thoughts on that. As Kyle already mentioned, thrilled to go right into the LBP following whitelist. It will be on Copper. What we found is this. We have to be, and we understand this, and we know that the community understands this. The balance of progress and security is something that we are focused on every single day. And with that balance, when we looked at Avalanche from an LBP perspective, there just was not what we saw that would have enough decentralization combined with security, combined with the ability that we would need for a large, successful LBP. And therefore, Copper on Poly is the choice. There's a swap mechanism. Those that want to get into the technical functionality of that, we'll get into that. We'll probably even have some overviews on that, and that talks about that. So let's just put a pin in that as far as the LBP right now. For the whitelist, there's already been guides that has been outlined so that those that are new, we recognize that some are brand new to crypto and here in our Discord. They're brand new to Avalanche, right? They've never added Avalanche to their MetaMask, right? They haven't added a network. And so there are guides that are being prepared that walks everyone through those steps. As we utilize our whitelist UI, there's a guide that outlines exactly the steps to take, so that everyone knows and feels that same security that we feel. Everyone feels the reason that we've taken this time is truly to do it right, because we're building a platform, right? We're not building a meme coin. We're not building a token that is just that's a fork of some other protocol. We're building something that's here, that's not going anywhere, and that's going to be here for a very long time. This is a legacy, and we're thrilled for all of you to be part of this legacy with us. Additional Fiscus funds. overviews will be coming out over the weekend because we want you to have all of those. You will have all of those before the whitelist so that you can review those, so that you can look at those. Yes, you've heard from projects, but you may be thinking, I'm looking for a specific type of project. I want to see that Fiscus is doing this or that, or I want to get a look at signature pages on these projects. So I know it's been pinned and done. Fully understand that, and that's savvy and smart of you. And so based on that, you'll have that over the weekend. It'll be a long weekend. Again, appreciating all the time that everyone has spent and everyone will be spending, over these next 2 weeks. Thrilled, excited, kind of at a loss of words to really describe where we are, where we're headed. I think most know in the community. I think based on my perspective, I think you know about 20% of it. And so I'm excited for you to see the rest. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kyle, and he'll take us out.
All right. Well, you know what? It's Kevin's got some big shoes for me to fill because I know he leads us out pretty well. Just thank you for putting up with at least my bit, my coughing here for the last little while, and really, if I can express a takeaway, one of the biggest things for me is just learning about two really amazing projects we have here in our pipeline and what's to come. And I know that, the journey for the community started a while ago, for me a few months ago, but really the journey starting here next week as we set to go live and as we kind of endeavor some of the, the exciting projects that we have here in our pipeline. And I'm sure Phil's looking really forward to sharing that with you. I can't let the cat out of the bag. That's not my job too, but again, really, really looking forward to serving the community and moving this thing forward. So without further ado, have a great weekend, and looks like I'll be back next AMA. So talk to you guys soon.